Hi, I'm Guy Lawrence, and you are listening to the Guy Lawrence podcast. If you're enjoying this content and you want to find out more and join me and come further down the rabbit hole, make sure you head back to guylawrence.com.au. Awesome, guys. Enjoy the show. Shaun, welcome to the podcast.
Hey Guy, how are you, mate?
I'm fantastic. Thanks for coming on, mate. It's been a while in between podcasts. You came on the previous 180 podcast, and now it's an honor to have you back on my new show, mate.
Yeah, thanks, mate. Really appreciate it. I love what you're doing here at Let It In, so really happy to be on board.
Thanks, buddy. You're on an aeroplane. A complete stranger sits next to you and asks you what you did for a living or do for a living. What do you say?
I say that I'm a human behaviour, stress and PTSD consultant. That's what I call myself. And then the next part of that, when they say, what's that mean, would be I work with people to get them the best optimal outcomes for themselves as human beings and human behaviours and interactions, and how to best deal with stress in their life.
Okay. And then from there, what would be the next question they normally ask you for that? I'm stressed. What do I do?
Pretty much, mate, often that's the case. Oh, stress, well, that's what it is. And yeah, that's it. And to me, it's five, and you and I have talked about this a lot over the journey, 5 simple things, which is around your sleep, nutrition, training, meditation, and mental rehab, which is self-education. They're the 5 key tips to stress and...
Cool. Sorry, that last bit dropped out then, but we'll keep going. So what kind of people do you find generally asking for your help? Like, who comes to you normally?
Yeah, I've got a few different ones. So I've done a lot of work recently with police in Queensland Police, where I served for 13 years. And those for your guys who haven't got my background, I was a police officer for 13 years, had post-traumatic stress disorder, depression, and battled suicide really badly. I left the police 16 years ago, and since then I've been involved, really immersed in my own personal development to get over that trauma. And then in the last couple of years, I've been doing a lot of one-on-one coaching and mentoring. I've been doing for a number of years, but then the last just under 12 months as a full-time thing. And the main people that I've been dealing with this year, in 2018, I've done 45 2-hour, what I call critical stress workshops to Queensland Police, probably 12 to 1,500 police officers. And that, I called it critical stress training, because if I called it emotional health and well-being, which is essentially what it is, no police officers would turn up, because they're a challenging group of individuals, as in they become quite hard and they become quite emotionally distant as a necessity to cope with what they see. So I deal with cops, I deal with soldiers, and I also deal, the main group of people I deal with is men. From the point of view, I deal with business owners, I mentor one-on-one with business owners, athletes, anybody for me, and especially males, because I'm an alpha male. And to me, it's about getting men more emotionally connected, more powerful, and be better leaders in their life. So essentially, anyone who's male or an alpha female, an alpha personality.
Okay. Why do you think, and I think this goes beyond the forces, why do you think that we are frightened to talk about our emotions and look at them?
Yeah, as men, I think it's because, mate, the fundamental part is, I think it goes back to, probably I'm 48, like my mum and dad's generation, they're in their early 70s. It's the old boys don't cry, men don't show emotion, men have got to be tough. And I look at it and I think it actually goes back, probably 150 years or so, back to Industrial Revolution, where men weren't around as much in their homes. Instead of being farmers, instead of doing that sort of stuff, we went into factories and we went away for 14 hours a day to work. So men just became very emotionally disconnected from their families. And now the fear is, I think we've lost a lot of essence of what it means to be a really strong man. We've lost an essence of what it means to be an alpha male and a leader in your life. And so we are either very soft and weak, or we're quite dominating and violent. And that might be emotionally or physically. And unfortunately, domestic violence is a huge problem, as we all know. And I think a lot of that is because men, we just don't have a lot of strong alpha male leaders that are emotionally open and communicative. It's all about the tough guy.
Yeah. Well, what would you say would be a strong male, like in your
Yeah.
interpretation.
And mate, as egotistical as this sounds, that's what I model myself to be, right?
Yeah.
And I get like, I'm a 6'2", 95 kilo guy. I train hard. I train fighting. You know, had spent many years in the police in firearm incidents and violent incidents. So I'm a strong man in that sense. And then I'm very emotionally connected. I love deep, you know, D&M chats, deep and meaningful chats. I'm super connected to my daughters, to my partner, to my friends. I'm a hugger, you know, like I hug men, women, whoever, like friends of mine that I see, that's how I greet them. And I'm very emotionally open and aware. And to me, that's what the ultimate alpha strong man should be. So on one side of the coin, they're very emotional and very soft and very connected and very loving. And on the other side, they're still willing to stand up and protect their families and protect people who aren't as strong as them. So as an example, if I was walking down the street and I saw a man attacking a woman, so in a domestic violence thing, say for instance, then I would jump in there in a heartbeat. And I would be quite comfortable in the fact that I could handle myself physically if I had to stop that. And I think that's the part that a lot of men have lost, where we don't want to get involved. We don't want to, you know, be too rough or too tough. But I think we need that, because that's what keeps the less than amazing people in our society in line.
Yeah. It's an interesting one, isn't it? Because even looking back at my own upbringing and life, and, you know, from Wales, everything was about rugby, and it was a strong sport. And I used to have to prove my almost acceptance into the culture by how well I played, how much I could physically hurt someone on the rugby field, you know, and get away with it, kind of thing. And that was all my recognition. And it wasn't until I kind of, as I started getting older, wanting to look at these things and actually start to reflect and have to face our own, I guess, emotions, and it's a challenge, you know. Like when you went through your kind of trauma, and coming out the other side, like how difficult was it at first for you to start even contemplating there was another way?
Oh, huge. And it's funny because something just came to me then as you're talking, is it's the difference between being tough and being strong. So what you're talking about with rugby, when I talk about the police and fighting and whatever, the drinking culture or womanizing, all those things that we traditionally hold men up to be cool guys if they do, especially when we're in our early 20s or in our 20s. That's the tough guy. And he's actually full of shit, because he's got this mask on. He's pretending to be someone he's not. Everybody's the same. It's like this whole culture of, well, whoever's the biggest idiot and the least emotionally connected is the coolest guy. And then I go, the strong guy is the guy who's actually very emotionally connected and loving, but still tough if he needs to be. And the transition from the tough guy to the strong guy, which is exactly what your question's about, was huge for me, because I thought, if I have to go and get help, then I'm weak, I'm a coward, I can't stand up and do police work. My dad was a cop for 42 years, very highly decorated for bravery. So I had all this fear around, I'm a weak man, I'm a coward. And then as I moved through into more like the last 15, 16 years of personal development work, now I'm like, the real strength of who I am is having the courage to stand up and be a man that most men aren't, and be very emotionally connected and loving. I had a couple of clients I worked with this morning. One of them I knew 15 years ago and I haven't seen since. And him and I have just started working together. And we sat down and had this whole big chat where I was super open and emotionally connected. And it challenged me, because he knew me as the old guy, right? And at the end of it, he's like, mate, I'm blown away. This is amazing. Thanks. You know, he was very complimentary. But the only way I got to the point of being willing to change was nearly taking my own life. So the pain of my life had to get so great that I was about to take my life before I would actually face the demons and do something about it. And that, I think, is not uncommon.
Yeah. It's amazing what we'll tolerate. Without wanting to change, even though change is where the opportunities lie to do something different. You know, when we cling on to the self. More thought that popped in there. Could you, and I'm going to ask you if you could share just one story, any story back from your police days, because I really want, because we've had many conversations, so I really want to put some stuff into context to where you are at, what you're doing, to where this is at now.
Yeah, sure. So the story that I normally tell, and this is the most violent one I got involved in the very short version, in Fortitude Valley here in Brisbane. There was a pursuit started with a plainclothes car, detective's car, and I got into that pursuit. As the pursuit started, before I got to it, the detectives called it for urgent assistance. They're screaming, lights like siren over the radio, screaming at the top of their voice, panicking because the guys they were chasing started shooting at them. So we ended up in a pursuit, and I got to that job. The guys, as I was parked on the side of Brunswick Street in the valley, the car came past me, and I was waiting to do a U-turn to tap on the back of the chase and chase these guys, 7 police cars and the baddies car. And as they went past me, the guy was sitting outside the vehicle out of the passenger's window with a rifle, a 243 rifle, on the roof of the forward drive ute that they were driving, firing shots back at the police cars. As he went past me, I was like on the other side of the road, and he spun across and fired 3 shots at me, like 2 car widths away, missed me. I turned around, chased him down the Brunswick Street, overtook 6 of the 7 police cars, and I tried to get to the first in the chase, and I was going to ram them and take them out. And I couldn't get around the first car because they were being shot at. The first car had 24 bullets in it, and they had shot dozens and dozens of rounds, these guys. Crashed into the Brunswick Street Mall, which is a pedestrian mall. I chased them on foot. There was one other car with 2 people, and a big light pole had fallen, so the other cars couldn't get through. So it was myself on foot on my own, the 2 guys, a guy and girl in the car, and the 2 baddies with a rifle. Chased them down into this awning. Story short, they both shot themselves probably 5 or 6 meters away from me. And the first guy put a rifle under his chin, pulled the trigger, hit the ground. I ran in on the second guy. He picked it up, put it in his mouth, pulled the trigger, hit the ground. And first guy lived, second guy died. So that's a pretty extreme version. But 13 years as a cop, that was the most extreme thing. But often there was jobs where we'd take guns off people. Often people tried to stab me a couple of times, been in heaps. I was in fist fights 2 or 3 times a week, heaps of domestic violence, because the dog squad where I work, the canine unit, is all about first response policing. So you go to the most violent and the most dangerous situations. And I loved it, mate. It was great. But essentially I got to the point where I just overdosed on it because I loved it so much. I worked so hard. I went to so many of those jobs that I just burned out. And I didn't realize, I didn't have the emotional awareness or maturity to understand that I could help prevent that. I thought it was just me. I didn't realize everybody gets impacted by that.
Of course. So, I mean, that blows, hearing that just blows me away. It's not every day you hear these kind of stories, right?
Yeah, sure.
And when you say you loved that fascinates me. Do you think it was like almost an addiction to the adrenaline that it was producing? Or? It's
funny people say, like, I always used to think yes, but now I actually think, mate, I don't know if it's a chemical addiction to adrenaline. I'm sure it is. I'm sure that's a byproduct. But it was 2 things for me. One was I just have an overarching drive and purpose to help people and make a difference. That's why I do Strong Life Project now. So I had that as a cop. Absolutely. I just wanted to help people and make the biggest difference I can to them, and normally in violent and pretty traumatic situations. The second part was I certainly became addicted to, the challenge of how far I could push myself, and driven out of fear. It wasn't a positive addiction, because the fear of feeling like a coward and I was soft. And I built this reputation as being quite a hard guy, like quite a bit of a tough guy. But internally, I was still really scared. So that job where the guys were shooting at us, I was terrified, justifiably so. But at the time, because police being the sort of personalities police are, nobody goes, oh, wow, I was terrified during that job. Everybody has the good mask on that goes, oh, yeah, mate, I didn't give a shit. So I would look at everybody else and think they all had it together. And I thought that I was the only one that had the fear and the insecurities, which is crazy now.
Yeah.
But back then I thought it. So then it meant I had this imposter syndrome of fear, having this reputation as being a tough guy, but inside feeling like I wasn't. So I kept doing more and more brave, aka stupid things to prove to myself that I was tough. And that became almost addictive.
Did you know that was going on at the time, or were you?
No idea.
Okay.
No idea. I thought I was just weak and I was scared and nobody else was scared. That's what I thought.
Wow. What if you, a random question that popped in there, if
Mm.
you could, the Shaun of you today,
Yeah.
could go back and tap him on the shoulder,
Yeah.
what would you say anything to him at the time, or what would you say to him? And would he
Yes.
listen?
No, he wouldn't listen. No way in the world. The Shaun of my 20s and early 30s didn't listen to anyone. But what I'd say to him is just trust your gut, trust your intuition, believe in yourself more than you believe what anyone else says. Because that's the epitome of life, right? When you can be in a place like I am now in my life where I trust myself more than I trust my own thoughts, feelings, intuition, more than I trust anyone else's advice. So I'll take advice from people, absolutely. And like you and I have had those chats, Rach, my partner, we have those chats, but I still ultimately run it through my own filter or my own thought process that then gives me, that's what I trust more so. Where before I probably trusted other people's advice and opinions of me more than my own.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
Mm.
And so what were your principles that you live by now, if you could articulate it then? So you've gone through all that, you've come out the other side, you're coaching others. What is generally keeps you, I guess now, what's the word I'm looking for? There's almost like, and I'm finding it, and we've had conversations around this as well, where, we're out there doing our thing and we're leading by example and we're helping others to try and show a path. So what would, if you could summarize maybe 3 things or 4 things that you govern by, that you live by now?
Mate, it's as cliched as this sounds to say this now, it's those 6 principles of the strong life that I live by, and that is to live with strength, tenacity, resilience, optimism, nurturing, and generosity. And when I touch on those, it's the strength to be the man I want to be in every situation, show up as the best version of me possible. The tenacity to know that I can always find a way through any challenge. The resilience to get up when I get knocked down. The optimism to know that life always gets better and tomorrow is going to be better than yesterday if I have that positive intention. Nurturing of myself first, and then everybody else around me and further out into the world. And then the generosity of myself and my time and who I am to as many people as I can help. Those 6 sort of attributes to me then have me live as a very well-rounded human.
Yeah, beautiful. It was interesting when I knew I was jumping on the podcast with you today, and I knew I had to mention this for some reason on the podcast, and it wasn't even relevant, but it was like intuition. And it was a book by a guy called David R. Hawkins, which and he actually wrote a book called Power versus Force.
Yes.
And I often think about those principles in life, and I haven't read the book yet, but there's an immense there's immense power that's I believe that we self-generate, and it's the very principles that you start to think about then, and then that power starts to come from it internally outward, and we're not chasing the external to fulfill the need. And sometimes then there's the force, but we force life. We try and make things happen. And when we force it, things come up against it. We always come up against something.
Yeah.
And then there's never that flow.
Yes.
If that makes sense.
Absolutely. And mate, I look at it, an analogy that I often use is I go, the old me used to spend my life, and use the policing analogy, like kicking in doors. So if I had to go and kick in the door on an offender that had a rifle or had a firearm or whatever, that the analogy of me in my life, I used to be a guy who would just, if I kicked a door and it didn't open, I just keep kicking it and keep kicking it and keep kicking it until it opened. And that's what I was like. I would just bash my head against the brick wall, figuratively speaking. These days, the first thing I do before I try to force it is try the handle, because it might be unlocked. Like just the simplicity in my life of going, instead of trying to force the outcome that I believe is what I want and what I need, is to trust the power of God, universe, whatever you believe in. I certainly believe there's some sort of higher power. I think it's actually the human consciousness, if you like. And I go, well, if it's not working, that's probably because it's not meant to. So stop pouring all my energy into this thing that doesn't work and sit back and go, okay, well, if it's not that, what could be the next thing? Follow the intuitive gut feel and go down that path. And the more I do that, just how easy my life becomes, but I keep forgetting it and I get stuck. And especially if I'm challenged, and we talked the other day, like I've got two beautiful daughters that are 13 and 10, and I'm divorced from their mum for about nearly 6 years. And we're going through some shared parenting challenges and going to family court shortly because I've hardly seen the girls for the last 5 or 6 months. When I'm in the real difficult of that emotion, it's really challenging. I shut down into a survival mode and I forget that. And I become pretty angry and I'm trying to force situations. When I'm, and that lasts probably 24 hours these days, but it would have lasted months before. When I just sit back and relax and go, well, why could this possibly be happening? Then I look at simple things like in 2 weeks, I'm off to Bali for a week to write a book. And the book's about how to be a good divorced dad. And I'm like, well, this whole experience of this 5 or 6 months is an amazing amount of learning and opportunity to be able to go and hopefully really influence and help other men in a similar situation.
Yeah.
So then I go, wow, it's been challenging. And for me, I haven't loved it. But there's obviously lessons and learnings in that for the girls, for me, for my ex. And so I'm more peaceful to go, okay, I've got to do what I've got to do to rectify it, but I'm not going to drag myself through it kicking and screaming. And just try and accept it.
Acceptance is the big one, isn't it? And letting it go.
Yeah, mate. Absolutely.
You know, I keep thinking of the phrase, no struggle, no strength, though, at the same time, where we need that pressure sometimes to see what's within us.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we'll never know, even though, like you say, it sucks. Like, in this, obviously some very painful experiences that we can all have. What do you think, when you look at our struggles in life and the things that we come up against, how do you think they're like almost like an initiation into the next chapter?
Yeah, I do, mate. I've never thought of it in those words, but yeah, absolutely. As you say that really resonates with me, because I look at it and think there's many more than two types of people. I was going to say there's two types of people in the world, but there are the people who want to live safely, in safety, as in they will do anything to not be pushed outside their comfort zone, to not be challenged, to not have struggle. They'll do whatever it takes. And I think that's a great majority of people in society. So they will stay in a job that they hate, in a relationship where they're not happy, health and fitness where they're not happy, financially where it's not amazing, but they will stay in that, what I call 51% mediocrity in their life, because the 51% mediocrity, 49% misery is tolerable. And if it tips to 51% misery and 49% mediocrity, they do enough to tip it back to 51, 49 the other way, but then that's it. And I used to be that guy, and that's using alcohol to self-medicate, whatever it might be. Then the guy I am today, I'm probably 80 or 85% amazing, and 15 to 20% misery, depending on where I'm at. And I go, once I have this situation with my daughters, it's probably going to be 95 to 5, because that's the most challenging part. Yeah. But I think when I look at me now and the man I am now compared to who I was 15 years ago or 30 years ago or whatever, all of the massive challenge and struggle in my life has been what's given me the growth and helped me evolve. And now going through the challenge with my girls for 6 months, in it, I'm trying to learn the lessons and have the experience and get the impact in the moment, not in 3 years' time looking back in hindsight. So I sort of lean in, as you know, a good personal development term, I lean into the pain and the misery and the difficulty, because I go, I know that's what's always delivered me great growth and great happiness is the challenge.
Yeah. It's amazing what we do to avoid feeling a certain way, ultimately.
And it's pain, mate, right? And you go back to, as you know, the science of it, and you actually spurred me into a lot of this metacognition and neuroscience and stuff, but it's the limbic brain's response to want to keep us safe. So we've got a 200,000-year-old computer, that's our brain or our mind and our body. And it's like, well, if I'm challenged by whatever, having a new job or anything that puts you outside your comfort zone, the prehistoric fear or the Neanderthal fear is, oh shit, this isn't good for us. Quick, let's do something to stop us doing this thing.
Yeah.
The modern conscious version of us goes, awesome to be outside your comfort zone and challenged. the limbic brain's like, well, no, hey, shit, this could kill us. Stay safe.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And as you create those new experiences and create new neural pathways around being a little bit uncomfortable and change, because you have to change, you know, to create opportunity, you have to do things differently. Otherwise, that's the definition of sanity, right? And we just go over and over and over and over and over again.
And mate, it's the thing that when I came and did your workshop, actually, and you were talking about the homeostasis and where the body sits in homeostasis, and if it's stress or anger or anxiety or sadness, then your body will create and will find, and your mind and your body, brain will create more situations of that. And that clicked with me, resonated with me a lot. I thought, wow, that just makes so much sense, because my experience of life has been life's tough. I've got good Irish Catholic background, my mum and dad, and, you know, my grandparents, they came through the Depression and all those things. And I'm like, wow, I've just taken on these ideas of other people's, and look at, you know, Joe Dispenza and Bruce Lipton's work, which again, I found through you, which between 0 and 6 is when all, you know, the majority, 90% of your habits are formed, the beliefs. I'm like, holy shit, I've been living 40 something years of my life based on beliefs of someone else's that aren't even mine, and creating situations to concrete those beliefs as real. Like, that blew my mind.
It's insane, isn't it? And we get really good at it. We practice it, and the body influences the way we perceive the world, and whether we have a negative or biased lens. And then we start to look at work, because there's so much information coming at us at once. We can only process a couple of thousand bits of information at any 1 second, even though there's millions of bits of information coming at us. And we always look for things to support the way we're actually feeling in that moment.
Yeah.
So then you can reinforce your biasness towards the way you see in the world to reinforce that feeling, which is just crazy. And that's only truth to ourselves. That's not actually what's going on. That's not truth.
Absolutely.
And the moment you can start to interrupt that and change it, I believe it's a game changer, you know?
Well, I'll give you a simple example. About a week ago, probably 4 or 5 days ago, I was struggling for about 24 hours with stuff, and the girls. I was really upset. I was very emotional, pretty frustrated. And Rach, who's just an amazing person, my partner, was trying to help me. And I'm like, babe, you can't help. I've just got to go through it. Like, I've got to feel it and wade through it. And she goes, what can I do? I said, actually, just give me some space, leave me alone. And she's like, okay, Dale, I'm here, whatever you need. My story's always been, I've had to do everything on my own. Life's been tough. People have let me down, all this stuff. She then goes, okay, I'll leave you alone. She did that for a few hours. And not long into the process, I was like, see, I knew that was right. I knew people always let me down. I know I've got to do stuff on my own. So I created it. I asked her to do it. She did what I asked. And then my homeostasis and that belief, had to fight so hard consciously to go, no, you idiot. This is what you wanted. And it's actually what you need. Stop being a drama queen. But I so wanted to fall into it and feel sorry for myself and go, see, no one cares. It was just pathetic. It's ridiculous.
But you're observing it, which is amazing, you know. And which actually, I'll ask you, you know, it's a biased question because you did the Let It In program and obviously workshop as well. But how have you found it since with the regular meditation practice?
Fantastic, mate. Fantastic. There's a couple of things that I got out of your work that I love. And, you know, like I said, I've been doing this for 15 or 16 years. I've worked with every alternate healer and personal development, blah, 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 blah. And what your stuff did for me predominantly, and what I've loved, is it's given me a point of consciousness through meditation to actually slow down a lot of the physiology so a lot of the neuroscience, the metacognition, create new neural pathways, definitely that, because I'm calmer and I'm in a better space, and I'm meditating anywhere between 20 minutes to 40 minutes a day, just depending on time. So I'll try to do 20 minutes morning and night.
Brilliant.
And I always do a 20 or 25-minute meditation into sleep at night, because I find that really relaxing, and it just puts me into a good deep sleep. But it's helped to stop my brain spinning so hard. And I'm a manic thinker, like many of us are. But the other thing that I love, mate, is because I'm a very practical, like I'm super emotional, but I'm also pretty practical. I'm an alpha male. I'm a guy, like the woo-woo, the idea of The Secret, the book you remember years ago. I'm like, what a load of shit.
Yeah.
Then I look at the work of Dr. Bruce Lipton that I found through you, and his is, well, we're made up of atoms, it's energy, we're all energetically connected through a quantum field, and we've measured that through science, and there's evidence. I'm like, oh, wow. So it legitimizes a lot of what I already felt in an academic sense or an intellectual sense that helps me tap into it stronger and go, yeah, I believe this shit because there's evidence. So absolutely, mate, what I love, and I'm so grateful for what you have given me, is the ability to keep my mind under control and live more on my heart through meditation, but also the ability to feed my mind with the science and the evidence-based facts that doesn't allow me to write this stuff off as bullshit and not engage.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
100%. 100%. I think the biggest aha moment for me as well was using the language of science as a window to come into this world and start to understand it, because it's just words and language. And the moment somebody speaks our language, we can kind of go, holy shit, now I get that. But the thing that frustrated me the most was with a lot of this work was a lot of it felt, not what I teach, but there's work out there, like you mentioned, The Secret and stuff like that. It can feel a little bit esoteric.
Yes.
And not practical on a daily basis. It's like that's all great, but how do we actually bring that in so I can improve my day ahead of me right now? What are the tools that we can start applying to make me feel like I'm moving forward? And it's not like putting our hope into just manifesting something in when it doesn't show up without, a practical approach to things.
And the thing that The Secret, and I've actually read Rhonda Byrne, who wrote that, she's written 2 other books, one called The Power and one called The Hero's Journey, I think. And I actually really enjoyed those. And I've read them fairly recently. And they were very on a similar sort of idea. But the thing I loved about those 2 more so than the first one was because I had that science, the background of the science and the evidence that I accessed through you. I'm like, oh, wow, yeah, this makes sense, because it essentially is the same stuff. It's about the saying, if you believe that you're happy, then you're happy, because your body creates the feeling, your mind accepts it, the feeling creates the physical reaction, and it's just, as you know, that positive cycle. So if I think life sucks, then I dump adrenaline, I'm in a fight or flight response, my dopamine and serotonin production drops off, and I feel like shit. So then I feel like life's tough. And then because I think it's tough, I feel it's tough, I feel it's tough, I think it's tough, and you go down that rabbit hole.
Yeah.
And that's when I look at the simplicity of going, we create our own experience. So, and that's the 2 things that I think that I talk to clients about, and a lot of my Instagram and social media stuff is self-awareness and patience. That's the key. They're the 2 keys to life. If you're self-aware and know who you are, know what you're good at, know what you suck at, know where you trip yourself up, know where you've got some good talent, and then you've got the patience to go, everything I want to do is going to take longer than I think it will take. That's just a life thing, because we want things done yesterday, and I was the king of, I'll do all this stuff and it'll take me 3 weeks, and then 6 months later I'm like, oh, this is bullshit, and I quit. And the health and fitness, I know we've both done a lot of training over the years, is a good one. The people who do the 30-day challenges, they go, come and do this 30-day challenge, lose 7 kilos, eat cabbage and drink some concoction, and you'll drop 7 kilos. And someone drops 7 kilos, goes, wow, I knew this was easy. It was only 30 days, but nothing inherently changes in their behaviors. They go back to eating shit food, being sedentary, not sleeping well, all the stuff we know impacts obesity. And then they put on that 7 kilos in more, because the quick fix doesn't fix anything. It's a lifetime journey. Like, to me, this work, health and fitness, positivity, we were talking before we came on air about, I just went and did a sauna and ice bath, and I've been doing that every day for 6 out of 7 days for the last 3 weeks, because I've got an ice bath at the gym I train at. And I often go sit in the sauna, sit in the ice bath, get out and think to myself, you're a 48-year-old guy who trains for health and fitness. You're not some elite CrossFit athlete trying to go to CrossFit Games. What are you doing? But it's taken myself seriously, because that self-awareness to know what's important and what works, and the patience to put in the work, delivers great happiness.
Yeah. I love it. A question that had popped in my mind there as well then is, my computer's going on there. So from great happiness stems. So how do you deal with with patients, right? Because what I've found is that as I've gotten older, I've definitely become more patient. But I used to be very outcome orientated. So I would constantly focus on getting to this outcome to then fulfill my need.
Once I get that, then I'll be happy.
And it's the things like the 7-day challenge or these weight loss things or whatever. There's this trap that we can fall into to think, well, I'm going to do this 30-day challenge. I'm going to drop 5 kilos in weight. Then I'm going to be happy, but then obviously we get there and it doesn't reward that. What have you found with working with people then in terms of, you talk about the 51 to the 49% within that mediocrity space?
Yep.
Get that tipping point to just keep going with it and then realize that it is a journey. The destination is probably not going to meet our standards anyway. So
no.
Why not enjoy it along the way?
Yeah, definitely. And that's, mate, I live my whole life. One of my favorite sayings, I've got a number of them. My first one is, what other people think of me is none of my business. And then my second one is, focus on the journey, not the destination. Because I used to be exactly that guy. I was the guy who would be, once I get that job, I'll be happy. Once I get that car, once I get that house, once I get that whatever. And whenever I got the thing, then there'd be a new thing. Because I'd get a new car. I'd get a new car and go, wow, this is awesome. But it would be a massive letdown. Within a week, I'd be like, maybe I should have got the red one. Maybe not the silver one, because I actually don't like this one as much. But it's a reflection of the fact you don't really like yourself that much and your happiness. And to tip people into that lifetime journey is is the biggest challenge I find in my work. And I've actually let it go to the point of having all care and no responsibility, because people need to find that place themselves. You can't coach that. I can absolutely sit down and with all humility, I've had some amazing results of people I work with in a really short period of time where they blows their mind. But whether they maintain that long term is 100% in their wheelhouse. There's nothing I can do to influence that, because it's almost the carrot and stick, So if I'm there with them, pushing them to be their best, which is exactly what I do, educating, helping, inspiring, and holding them accountable, the minute we stop working together, then that accountability falls back to themselves. And they will go into what's less painful. And this, to me, underlies everything in life. Human beings are pain averse. We will do what's less painful. Comes back to the limbic brain response we were talking about earlier. If it's less painful to get to from there in misery to there where I'm happy, and then you stop there because it's less painful than to go into the unknown of what could be amazing, then people will stay there. Hence the 51% mediocrity.
Yeah.
There'll be some people like I am and you are, like I'm an obsessive personality. So if I do something, I'm in at 150%. So I'm down the rabbit holes, I'm looking at it all, and thankfully I've turned that obsessive personality, self-awareness, I know that's who I am. I gave up drinking and other things because I'm obsessive. I'd go out at midday and get home at 2 a.m. I never got in any trouble. I never did anything bad, but I was just loose because I loved it. So now I've changed that from the police, alcohol, more negative behaviors to positive behaviors of my own personal development, emotional awareness, physical fitness and training, coaching other people, because I go, I'm in it 100% because that's just who I am now. To get other people inspired into that journey, really, I think you do it, guys like you and I do it through example. So I have other men who come to me now, I've known for 10 years, 20, 30, who go, mate, wow, you're so different than you used to be. The guy that I caught up with today, I hadn't seen for 15 years. He's like, I said, what had you reach out to me? So there's a lot of people out there that could mentor or coach you. What had you reach out to me? He goes, I just saw the difference in you from the guy I knew to the guy I see on social media and blah, blah, and what I do. He goes, my mind was blown to the point where I was like, I want some of that. And I was like, mate, that's amazing. Thank you. Like, that really is humbling. And then I feel very grateful for that. But I think that's the only way you can do it, by showing other people that it's worth the pain. Because it is still tough and it is still hard. It's not an easy road, as you know, mate.
No, totally. And last question before we change gears. But for that, if there's someone listening to this today that is probably feeling the pain getting greater and greater. You know, the frog in the
the boiling water.
the water slowly bubbling away, and they kind of think, okay, well, how crucial do you think it is to have, and because we're both mentors, so it might be just a biased question, but
sure.
You know, but having somebody there, or a community or a mentor to sort of help with that situation. Can you do it alone, or?
You can, but and no, obviously we know each other well. Like I'm in your program, you've got other people you work with. We've had some really deep discussions about your stuff that I've helped you with. Of course you could do it on your own, but I go, why would you? And because normally there's only one factor, or potentially two factors that would stand in someone's way: financial or time. They're normally the two things that people are the most concerned. Like if they're going to do anything, if you're going to buy a new house or a new car or work on yourself or do whatever, it's money and time. So I look and think, if let's try to think of a good example. So this is stupid, but let's say, so the iPad that I'm using, or the computer that I'm using today, I can go out and buy one because somebody's put all their experience and knowledge and the components necessary and put it in a package and give it to me. So I press the button, it comes on. Or I could go out and learn about programming, to learn all about the electronic componentry. I could put it together, source all the bits, build it myself, develop my own software, do everything for me, and then use my own iPad. The reality is my iPad will be shit and might work, and it will cost me more money to put that together than it will to go and buy one that works and is proven. And I go, using a coach or mentor is exactly the same. You can go out, and this is, you've got to be very careful who you work with, because there's some people out there who, it sounds very judgmental, but they go and do a 3-day weekend life coaching course and then come back and go, I'm going to teach you how to live your life. My opinion is, if you haven't got somebody who's been doing this sort of work themselves for at least 10 years, 5 to 10 years, 15 years, whatever, then similar having an overweight personal trainer, don't work with that person. But if you've got somebody who has been through the tough stuff and done the work and been down the rabbit holes, like I spent tens of thousands of dollars, and I know you would have as well, on my own personal development, so that I can, and the way I described it to this guy this morning, I said, mate, the thing I love about my work now is everything that I've learned in the last 15 years, and in the last 48 years for that matter, I can now put it in a box and tie a bow on it and give it to you and make it a lot easier. You've still got to do the work, but it's in front of you. It's simple. If you do what I tell you to do, you will live a dramatically better life. To me, then the question is, why would you not do that? I could stay at the level that I was before I came and was doing the Let It In program and did your workshop and did all that, because I know about meditation. I know about whatever. I can find out. I can Google it. But to get in with somebody who's an expert in their field, as you are, in what you're doing about so many things, but the things I love, like your meditation and metacognition, the idea of letting things in, the idea of letting go of control, a lot of the stuff that you taught me, I go, well, why would I not want to come to you and get it easily and quickly and effectively, put it in my tool bag and keep moving on, rather than have to waste the time, money, energy, pain, drama to try and find it myself?
Yeah.
Simply,
it makes sense, doesn't it? Yeah. You can condense years of wisdom.
Yeah.
And have some, I've got a mentor at the moment. Same thing. Same thing. You know, in a different field, where I just need somebody to go that I trust their experience, and they go, you know what, just do this, this, and this, and I kind of go, cool, thank you. I now have a map.
And I've got a couple that I use in different areas, and there's another one I'm just looking at the moment to do a lot with about being a person of influence in different things. I'm going to do some work with it. I'm like, yeah, well, why wouldn't I? Like, they've done it. Why reinvent the wheel?
Yeah, totally, mate. Next few questions I ask everyone on the show.
Perfect.
And the first one is, what's one of your low points in your life that you've had, but later in life turned out to be a blessing?
Yeah, definitely. Made easy. There's a couple. The PTSD, so post-traumatic stress disorder, depression and suicide. Clearly, I spent 3 nights in a row lying in bed with a Glock pistol in my hand going to shoot myself, and was pretty savage. It was the lowest point I'd say probably the lowest, or one of a couple of the lowest. But it's been such an amazing opportunity in hindsight, because it kicked me in the ass to actually get moving on this personal development journey. Second one was the end of my marriage. And I met my wife in the midst of all of that. So I wasn't in a great place. And unfortunately, we're just very different people. It was unfortunate. Spent years and years and years trying to fix it. Didn't work. And then when I left, and I remember vividly, my daughters were 7 and 4, and I drove out of the driveway of the house we were living in. I was like, well, I'm done. And I'd said I was going to do it a number of times. And when I did, I drove away that day, mate. I remember I pulled over on the side of the road, and I remembered, I still feel pretty emotional because I remember sitting there just thinking, holy, I have just done exactly what I swore I would never do because I came from a divorced family. I was never, ever going to put my kids through that. So those 2 times, so difficult. But in hindsight, were amazing opportunities for me to be a better person. I'm a far better dad now than I'd ever been, and a far better man through both of those than I could ever have been if I stayed in either of those situations.
Yeah, amazing. Thanks for sharing, man. Would you take any of those opportunities back?
No, I do them all exactly the same.
Yeah, amazing. What does your morning routine look like?
Yeah, so meditation. So I get up normally, I get up about 10 to 4 or 4 o'clock, meditate for 15, 20 minutes, journal. I do some gratitude journaling, and I do what I call like autonomic writing, like question and answer journaling.
Oh, wow.
And then I go and train at 5. So it's pretty, so when you think of it like that, I get up, meditate, journal, do some personal development stuff, go and train at 5 for an hour, do CrossFit, go and have coffee with some people I train with, come home, and then normally finish off some journaling and whatever. So it's probably overall about a 3-hour block that's all just about giving to me. Yeah. And then I go out from about 7 a.m. onwards and give to everyone else.
Yeah. Wow. What? So you get up at 4 a.m.?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Question, gratitude. How important do you think that is to start the day with that?
Massive, mate. Huge. And I will sit down and go, I'm grateful, like things like, I'm really grateful for, sorry, I'll go back a step. I write my gratitude with the intention of it being to my higher self or whatever you call that, right? To me, it's my higher self. It's to my heart, my soul, that part of me that knows the best direction for me, not my head, it's my heart. So when I write the gratitude, it's about, thank you, I'm so grateful for the difficult situation I'm in with the girls now and how much that hurts and how upsetting it is and how devastating it is because of the amazing growth I know that it's given me. So it's not all, I'm really grateful for the flowers and the bees and fucking unicorns. I go, it's all to me about it. I'm grateful for the really tough stuff. I'm grateful for amazing people. And every day it's different. Every day I do my best to not write what I wrote the day before. So some things, there's a recurring theme over days of like Rach and my daughters and my work and clients and blah, blah. But then I go looking for the stuff I'm grateful for that's not really apparent. And to me, some days it can be the simplicity where I might write something and it's got to be at least half a page of a sort of fool's cap sort of page, at least half a page, if not a full page. And I'll write things like, I'm grateful for the ability, the physical ability to be able to go and exercise because some people don't have that. I'm actually really grateful for the pain and the difficulty and the challenge in my life because some people's lives are going to end today. Some people would give their left arm if they have terminal cancer or their child has leukemia or something horrific. They would give their left arm to have the problems I have. And that to me is what gratitude's about. Be grateful for what you have because there might be people who aren't doing it as tough as you are right now. Yeah. But there is freaking guaranteed millions of people far worse off than you are right now. And if you focus on the drama of your life and the difficulty, you'll create more. If you focus on the gratitude for what you love, you'll create more of that.
Yeah, couldn't agree more, mate. That's awesome. That is awesome. If you could have dinner with anyone tonight, from any time frame, from anywhere in the world, past or present, who would it be and why?
You know what I should have done? I listen to your podcast all the time and I really should have paid more attention to these questions. So I had more answers, mate. I would be Jesus, actually, which sort of surprises me because I'm not religious. I'm very spiritual, but I'm not religious. And the reason I would love to sit down with him is go to find out who the man was, not who the story is. Because my belief is over many centuries, the man and the influence on who he was has been manipulated and changed by men to manipulate and control other humans. So I'd love to actually sit down with a guy, because I think my overwhelming sense of if it's Jesus or Nelson Mandela or like any of the amazing figures that we've had throughout human history who have done phenomenal things for our species, they were just normal guys like you and I, or normal girls like girls, not like you and I. But, so they're just very normal people. So I'd love to sit down with him and just go, what were your challenges? Where were you? And I'm sure it's the same stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, love it. Love it. Mate, last question. What's one thing about yourself most people wouldn't know?
I don't think there's much about me people don't know these days. Simple. I'm just looking. I play guitar and sing. My guitar's sitting there. Most people probably don't know.
Beautiful.
On a deep level, mate, like a serious emotional thing, probably still that I often doubt myself and wonder if I'm making the right choices. Even though I know, so in my heart, I know 100% I'm on the right track, but often still those fears and doubts come in. So, and the message in that is nobody ever gets it 100% right.
Yeah, I love that, mate. That's so true. I think we all do. And I think anyone that says anything differently is probably lying, but it's the relationship you have with those fears and doubts that come up, right? That's where the magic is. Yeah. Mate, is there anything you'd like to share to our listeners with everything that we've covered today, just for them to ponder on before we wrap it up?
Yeah, sure. If I could impart anything onto your guys that they take away if they hear nothing else, is probably three things. Be patient with yourself, trust yourself, and never give up. Because if you're patient and you trust yourself and you never quit, then there's nothing in your life you can't achieve. And I think if you live with those three things, if you're patient, trust yourself, and never quit, then your life just improves every day. Totally.
That's a great place to end it, mate. Where can I send everyone if they want to come and check you out more, mate, and do all the work you do? Where's the best place? Yeah, so the stronglifeproject.com, but it's a Strong Life Project on Facebook, the Strong Life Project on Instagram, stronglifeproject.com, and the Strong Life Project podcast on Stitcher, Google Play, type
iTunes, everywhere.
Yeah,
type it in. So if you Google the Strong Life Project.
You do 5 podcasts a week?
7. So I'm up to, they're about 10 minutes a day. 10 minutes every day. And I've just clicked, I think 750 or something. So I've done every day for probably about the last 2 years and month or 2 months.
Oh, that's amazing, mate. There'll be a lot of content there for people to talk through and start plugging you in. Yeah, that's brilliant, mate. That is absolutely brilliant. The Strong Life Project, you'll find it anywhere. Yeah. So, Shaun, thank you so much for coming on, mate. I greatly appreciate your time, your honesty, as always, and saying it as it is, and your vulnerability to go with it, mate. It's truly inspiring. Really. Good on you, brother. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it, and thank you, because you've helped me immensely over the journey over the last few years we've known each other, and I so appreciate it. I'm very grateful. Likewise, mate. Thanks, legend. Good on you, brother. See you, mate.